In 1377, Pope Gregory XI returned to Rome from Avignon, which at the time was the seat of the Pope and not the Vatican in Rome, but in 1378 he died. Following this, Bartolomeo Pregano, the Archbishop of Bari, is elected Pope on April 8th and takes the name Urban VI. He decides to stay in Rome rather than return to Avignon. Everything goes okay for about 5 months. Then the Pope starts talking about reforming the church, and the cardinals get scared because they would lose some power in his reforms. The cardinals decide to go back to Avignon. There they come together and announce that Urban VI was elected under pressure for a Roman or an Italian Pope by the Italian people, and therefore is not a free election. The cardinals then elected Robert of Geneva to take the seat in Avignon. Robert takes the name Clement VII, and with him and Urban deciding to excommunicate one another, we now have 2 popes. The problem with this is that they both acted as if they were the rightful pope, which to themselves they were. This was really annoying for the rest of Europe, however, whose leaders would receive 2 different sets of instruction in any matter related to the church. Both sides had their supporters. Clement VII was backed, of course, by the Kingdom of France, as well as Scotland, the Duchy of Savoy, the Kingdom of Castile, and Aragon. Urban VI was backed by England, Portugal, Hungary, the Scandinavians, and the Holy Roman Empire, so pretty much everyone else. The solution to this madness was just to wait for the popes to die, which was a common strategy if you ended up with a suboptimal pope. In 1389, Pope Urban VI died first, and the church, rather than just take on Clement VII into Rome and sort this whole mess out, chose to instead elect Boniface IX. Clement does eventually die, but the papacy in Avignon is just continued, the same as in Rome, and Benedict XIII is elected in 1394, dragging out this disaster even further. The Roman side of this suffers another death in 1404, and just elects another pope, this time Innocent VII, who managed to make it a whole 2 years before dying. So the Romans just elected someone else, this time Gregory XII. At one point, Benedict and Gregory agreed to resign as pope at the same time, but due to mistrust of one another, this never actually happens. Although I do have a side theory that because Benedict has outlived like 2 different popes at this point, he thinks he's got it in the bag, but I'm not sure about that. Eventually, cardinals from both Team Benedict and Team Gregory decide to leave their popes and come together to form a council to solve this problem, or gain more power themselves, depending on your perspective on these situations, I guess. They meet in Pisa in Italy on March 28, 1409, and come to the conclusion that they have the power in the church concerning matters where the pope is the subject. They invited both Gregory and Benedict to the council, but they never showed up, so there the council decided to solve the 2-pope problem by electing Alexander V as a 3rd pope, although he is only recognized as a peasant claimant as opposed to the pope. 1413 rolls around, and after being sick of getting 3 different sets of instructions every time something related to the church goes down, Holy Roman Emperor Sigismund decides it's his turn to try and fix this. He gets the second peasant claimant, John the 23rd, to call a council at Constance with the aim of reforming the church. John and Sigismund are obviously there, but so are the rulers of different nations, about 600-ish bishops and theologians and canon lawyers, who are like lawyers, but instead of citing the law, they just cite the Bible. November 5th, 1414, the council is officially open for business and chooses a voting system in which each nation in attendance gets 1 vote. In early 1415, figuring this wouldn't end well for him, John the 23rd ran away in hopes it will ruin the whole thing, but Sigismund hasn't worked so hard for nothing, so he keeps everyone else together, and on April 6th the Decree Sacrosancta is enacted, which in short means the council is more powerful within Christianity than the Pope. Following this, John the 23rd was captured and deposed on May 29th, so that's 1 out of 3 down. Next up, Pope Gregory XII in Rome actually just straight up abdicated like a nice guy, making that one nice and easy. So with 2 out of 3 down, only 1 remained. After outlasting 2 popes and 2 peasant claimants, Benedict did not see himself in the losing position and refused to submit until he was finally deposed on July 25th, 1417. And with that, the field was finally clear, and on November the 11th, 1417, Cardinal Otto Colonna is elected the one true pope and takes the name Martin V, thus bringing an end to the Papal Schism. Well, Benedict did continue to call himself Pope until he eventually died in 1423, and even had a successor in Clement VIII, who just eventually submitted to Martin V in 1429. Hope you enjoyed and hope you learned something.